absolute enjoyable time there with not just other pastors, but 6 of the pastors there were a family of mine. 4 of us are pastors, and a niece and a nephew are pastors, Kiralee and Andrew. And it was really good to catch up with them. I sat with Kiralee, for example, and to hear her passion and love for ministry was really something. I thought, yeah, God is really blessing. Highlights over there. One is seeing a model of Bubsy. Now, Bubsy, some of you senior ones would know, was the little citron that left Bickley Church and did a lap of Australia, giving and selling literature and collecting for the Appeal for Missions. Now, I didn't actually see the actual one. That's in the museum in Canberra, but someone has bought 2 exact replicas, and they're doing them up, and they're going to take them around Australia in 2025, because that's the 100th anniversary of that feat. And so they're asking churches to look out for them and include them in some sort of evangelism. So no doubt we'll be doing that, because they left Bickley, and Bickley's not very far from us here. So we need to make sure we include them. It'd be really good. Some of the older pastors are doing it, and they were there promoting it, and also Gary Kent. The displays were great. I got a lot of resources, a lot of new ideas, and more ideas, and just really good. Some reason Pavel Goya didn't speak. He did a promotion for ministry. That's all he did. I don't know what went on, but I managed to snap a book for Sherelle, so she's a happy girl, with Pavel's new book. I saw him in the cafeteria. They totally stripped that and put it back together again for us, and when we left, they stripped it again. They've carted, those of you who know the cafeteria, they've carted 17 tonnes of sand and gravel in there and cement, because someone told them they couldn't tile the floor. And, they've tiled the floor. And it looks really good. And Bruce Cantrell was back there as head cook. He was there for 4 years that I was at Avondale. So the food was great. The fellowship was good, the programming. Loved Kendra Holoviak Valentine. If you ever Google up her teachings, she's really good value. Priscilla Marisous, she was a part of Endless Praise. She led up in the worship each evening, and that was always a real highlight. And to me, my takeaway from there was that we can be confident in our church's beliefs and teachings. We really can be confident in that, and God's leading in our church, and God's leading in our leaders. So that was there. Then come back, massive catch up with the Midland Meals and with church work. And I was thrilled yesterday to be able to minister with Emily and Bruce and share with a family that they are very close to who lost one of their loved ones. And that was a really close time, Bruce and Emily, and thanks for your ministry. And, loving others is always rewarding, even though there's sadness, and rewarding was it brought family together and friends. And so that was a really, really good time. So there's a quick catch up on what's going on in my life. And had a great time overall in the last 2 weeks. We're continuing the series of I Am, and today we're looking at I am the Alpha and Omega. I've just looked at the clock. I'm going to need to crank it up a little, but that's all okay. Here is, if you want to go to sleep, here is the takeaway or the big idea for the day. In all I do this week, Jesus is working in it. In all I do this week, Jesus is working in it. You know, we all want to be first. It's something we all want to be. Down in the middle of meals, part of my job at the start, especially on Monday night when there's just massive crowds there, is trying to sort them out a bit and say grace. And you not believe the amount of shuffling that goes on as the people who want to get first. And there's always plenty of food there. Always plenty of food there. And the reason why we always fight to get first is we don't want to be last. We don't want to be losers. And I must confess, I get involved in that a little bit. Last month, I went to the cricket to watch the Renegades play the Scorchers with Braden and Sherelle. And here in West Australia, it's always a daunting task for a guy who doesn't want to be a loser. Because you look around you, people going in, it's a sea of orange. You look in the grandstands, it's a sea of orange. Me, I'm red. I'm Renegades from Victoria. And I just put my head down and just hope we just get through as far as the supporters are concerned. But walking into the game, we're a touch late, trying to get through the crowds, find our way around, because Optus Stadium is still new to me. And you could hear this massive roar. And I'm hoping for a wicket, and I look to Braden and he goes, he just hit another 6. And a few steps later, another roar, and I'm thinking, wicket? Nah, Dad, it's another 6. And by the time we walked and found our seats, the Scorchers were 50-odd runs in 4 overs. And I'm thinking, this is going to be really, really fun. In fact, I wanted to go home. I'm a poor loser. I wanted to go home. I look at Braden. He's keen for his first match with Dad. And look at Sherelle. She's keen for time with her husband. And so I stuck it out. And thank goodness it wasn't too bad in the end. It was a really good match in the end. But, you know, I'm the type of guy that if my team's losing on TV, I'll turn the channel over. I just can't handle losing. And, well, I guess maybe because I had a rough upbringing. As you know, I follow Richmond Football Club, and 35, 40 years of my life, they never won a game hardly. Until the last few years, it's been a little bit better. But how's it with you? We always want to be a winner, always want to be on the winning side. Well, our study today is about a statement from Jesus that says, even though you may feel you are a loser, you are a winner. Now, I was going to go through 3 texts, but I won't. There are 3 texts in Revelation that mention Alpha and Omega. But let's go to the second one, the middle one, because that will serve us for 2 points I want to make. Revelation 21 and verse 6. Revelation 21 and verse 6. Someone's watching. Thank you so much. Revelation 21 and verse 6. Then he said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will freely give to the thirsty from the spring of the water of life." I am the Alpha and Omega. What does Jesus mean that he is the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end? What does it mean for us, and how can it change our lives? He's using here language that they would be familiar with. He's in using the word alpha, that's the first letter in the Greek alphabet, and omega is the last letter in the alphabet. So they're going to get it quite easy. In other words, Jesus is saying, I am the A to Z, and I encompass everything. He was before time, and he'll be there after time. Now, Jesus makes these statements there to give hope and comfort to the 7 churches that John was writing to. And don't forget, John hasn't seen Jesus for 30 years. He sees him now in vision. And Jesus simply says, John, I'm it for you. I'm everything. Now, I had a point I wanted to labour on for a little bit, but I'm not going to labour on it. I'm going to pass over it. So you want to just jot the text down and follow through with me. But in Colossians 1:15 to 18, it says that Jesus is the firstborn of creation. It doesn't mean he was the first created being. It means that Jesus was there in the beginning at creation. So before you and I, before time, before us, Jesus was there. There's an interesting text in Ephesians 1 verse 4. But in verse 18, it says that he is the firstborn of the dead. In other words, Jesus is there at creation. He's there at death. And at times, for some of you like me, I love security. We wonder, what is there beyond when we take our last breath? But death shouldn't be the end of the game for us or the worry. Jesus has got it. Christ is there. Christ is there. He's there, and the breath of my life goes to him. What it's saying is that Jesus has everything in my life. From before I was born till after I pass away, he is there and he has everything. And at the final one in verse 22, when it's Alpha and Omega, it says, Jesus says, I am the Alpha and Omega. Behold, I am coming soon. In other words, I'm there at creation, I'm there at death, but don't forget, I'm coming soon. I have it all under control. And yet, how often do we try and keep it under our control? When Jesus says, hey, human being, it is done. It is done. I have it. I have you. And to the thirsty, he says, I'll give you the spring of living water. Me. I'll give it to those who desire it. So I've just jumped over a few thoughts and verses there, about 2 pages of my notes. I hope you're with me, and I hope it's making sense. If you missed it, Jesus has got everything under control. That's what I'm trying to say. I believe in our lives there is a battle going on in all of our hearts, whether we reveal it or not. There's a struggle between thirsting after God and thirsting after everything else. And it's not an easy battle because it never ends. We have to face it every day. I have to choose Jesus Christ every day, or by default, I choose the other end of the scale, which is everything. The everything else may make us feel good for the moment, but it leaves us empty in the end. And Jesus says, that's what I'm concerned about. I am the beginning, and you trust me with your life now, trust me with the end. And that's why we must be filled with the Spirit every day. We can't just run on fumes. And that's why we're promoting in our church this year the Bible reading plans. How are you going with that? And we also promoted those 23 days cards. And I want to encourage you to keep going through those, because we need to fill our lives with words of Christ and words of God, not necessarily words that the everything else want to give us. And everything else is really good at putting the worldly thoughts into our minds. We need to be conscious of that. We need to invest in our relationship with Jesus. We need to take time in our relationship with Jesus and fill our minds with his goodness, his words, and his promises. Isaiah 55 verse 1, and we'll turn there. Psalm, Proverbs, Isaiah. (55) and verse 1. This is tying in with those who thirst for Christ or those who thirst for everything else. Come, everyone who is thirsty, come to the water, and you without silver, come and buy. Eat, come buy wine, milk, without silver, without cost. There's invitation there to come to the Lord, and no matter who we are and no matter where we stand. God says, come to the water. If you don't have any money, don't let that stop you. And I like that. It means no one's excluded. Come to the water. If you haven't got money to buy, keep coming. You're not excluded. God wants you to understand that he has not only paid for it, but he's also wiped away the price. Come to the water. If you haven't got any money, that's okay. I've paid for it. I've wiped out the price. We don't have to earn our way with God. We think we have to do all the little things to please God on this earth and to keep God on my side. But God wants us to know, I bought you, you are mine, and everything I have is yours. From Alpha to Omega, from creation to death and beyond. It's all your inheritance, me. In Isaiah 55 verse 2, God is saying something familiar. Why do you spend silver on what is not food, and your wages on that does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me and eat what is good, and you will enjoy the choicest of foods. What Jesus is saying here is the I ams. I am your bread, and thanks James for leading us in that. I am your water. I am your wine. I am your milk. I'm not just there in the Alpha. I'm not just there in the Omega. I am here in your daily sustenance, your daily food, whether it be bread, water, milk, wine. I am there with you all the way through. God is saying, it's all fixed up. I'm your bread, I'm your water, I'm your wine, I'm your milk. I made you right with God. I'll give you everything you need. I can supply it, and it will cost you nothing. There is no price. Well, what do we think of that? We can live our lives without God and get on pretty well. But there will always be something missing in our heart. When the crunch comes, when we are thirsty, we have nothing that can satisfy us. Jesus came so that we can experience the power of the resurrected life today. Jesus came so we can know the transformed life today. Alpha and Omega reminds us of one fact, that what Jesus starts, he finishes. He that began a good work in you, Philippians says, 1:6, he that began a good work in you is faithful to complete it. Where do you see yourself on that line? Between Alpha and Omega, where are you this morning? Jesus wants to do that good work in you. Often we lament the fact that, we blew that. We blew this. We blew that time. With Jesus, every ending has a new beginning. And Jesus is waiting at the beginnings for us. Whether it's a relational ending in our lives, whether it's health issues, whether it's work-related, whether it's a school issue, or maybe it's a life decision you need to make that has an ending, Jesus is the Alpha and Omega of that too. Jesus is there and it's all under control. To know that Jesus is there in the beginning with you gives you the assurance that he will never, ever, ever leave you or abandon you. Instead, he will always be your creator and redeemer. Two of the most longings of the hearts of every Bible writer was to know the creator and the redeemer. Some of the most beautiful psalms about David was his longing for creator and redeemer. Every trouble we face today has something to do because we've missed the mark or left or searching for our creator or redeemer. And Jesus is saying, that's me. Look to me. That's me. I'm your creator. I'm your redeemer. Leonardo da Vinci, that great artist, painted that painting that's insured for 900 million. That we all know very well. The Mona Lisa. And, he would never, ever have painted that portrait had someone said, we want to pay you for that. It took him 4 years to paint this masterpiece. And in painting it, he immersed his whole life into it. They say that he painted 30 layers of paint on that painting. And King Francis came to him and told him he wanted to buy it. But Leonardo da Vinci said, sorry, it's not finished. Why would da Vinci do that? Why would he keep a king from buying this painting and live in the present? Why would he keep adding more and more paint to his artwork? He did it because he kept working and reworking the image until he was pleased with it. He kept working and reworking the image until he was pleased with it. And he loved the painting so much that he never ever gave it to any patrons, but kept it for himself. And church, that is exactly what Jesus does with us. What Leonardo da Vinci did with that painting, Jesus does with you and I. He is constantly working and reworking us. Jesus will never be quite done with us. Jesus will never be quite done with us. Because to Jesus, you and I are the most valuable piece of art in existence. To Jesus, you and I are the most valuable piece of art in existence. And he just can't wait to take you home. You see, he's the Jesus of the Alpha. He's the Jesus of Omega. He's also the Jesus of eternity. And he's there, and he wants to take you there too. My challenge as your pastor is take his hand today and say, Creator, Redeemer, you are mine. He will take you through Alpha, through Omega, and because he does, we can be confident he'll take us to eternity. I can't wait for that day. We're going to sing about it right now. I can't wait for that day. Can you?
I have to admit, when I was thinking about the last song,